How important are vegetable seeds to you? I assume you know that they put patents on GMO farm seeds that will cross-pollinate with the seeds on small farms to control those farms by patent law. Why aren't any of the presidential candidates talking about this? You do realize that they are putting chemicals in our food, right? I am going to guess that everyone who watches this is aware of that. Why aren't any of the presidential candidates talking about this? Do you believe that they are spraying us with aluminum and barium in the chemtrails? Why aren't any of the presidential candidates talking about this? You do realize that the Federal Reserve is a foreign bank, right? I assume you understand that they control our currency, and they control us with the Federal Reserve. You do understand that the Federal Reserve is the biggest threat to our sovereignty, right? And you do understand the Federal Reserve connections to the Rothschilds, right? Why don't we ever hear any presidential candidates talking about the Federal Reserve? You do realize that fluoride is rat poison, right? I assume you know they are putting this into many drinking waters. Why aren't any of the presidential candidates talking about this? You do realize that many people question why so many presidential candidates were members of Skull and Bones or have attended the occult rituals of Bohemian Grove. Why aren't any of the presidential candidates talking about this? Did you ever question the official story of what happened to the two towers? Why aren't any of the presidential candidates talking about this? I hear a lot of channels profess to know or expose something that mainstream media is not covering. They insinuate that they are telling you something that the powers that be do not want you to know. The implication being that the information is important to protect us. Well, why aren't any of the presidential candidates talking about these things? What about the supposed food shortages, the coin shortages, the boat that hit the bridge, and a million other things? Why aren't any of the presidential candidates talking about this? What about satanic ritual abuse? Are any of the presidential candidates talking about that? What about the underground tunnels that are under us that many people say are linked to trafficking? Are any of the presidential candidates talking about that? A recent tunnel system in New York was traced back to a synagogue. They filled it in as quickly as possible without doing a full investigation. Are any of the presidential candidates talking about that? So let me get this straight. You do not trust the water, you do not trust the food supply, and a million other things, but you do trust the government? Do you ever hear any presidential candidates talk about how only insanely rich people can run for president? In short, if politics were real, and if politicians supposedly worked for you, then why aren't they talking about the same things as you? Either they are uninformed, which implies they are not qualified, or they have a different agenda than yours.